Hi everybody, this is Chad the Gaming Dad here on Dad's Games, and it's time to do another Father Knows Best. I'm not really calling him Friday Father Knows Best anymore because I'm just going to do them whenever I have something to say, whenever I have something to talk about. And today I have something to talk about because I watched a video from Dean over at Escape to Gaming, and then also another guy that I like to take a look at his videos. His name's Gamezomatik. I'll have links to both of their channels down below. But Dean originally did the video about what he calls chronic negativity in gaming, chronic dissatisfaction in gaming, where it seems like everything is a negative. You know, it seems like most of the reviews and things like that are always focused on what's wrong with something as opposed to what's right with something. And he went on to talk in greater detail about that. And then also on Gamezomatik's channel, his response to this had a lot to do with maybe the fact that I like to call it first generation gamers, those of us that have been around actually playing games since the beginning of gaming. And so what I want to do here is respond to both of those, do a video response to both of those videos. Gamezomatik's was a response to Dean's, and then mine is, I guess, going to respond to them both. So first things first, the channel that I have is called Dad's Games because of, I don't know, a couple different reasons. Number one is I always envisioned these games that I have being passed on to my kids, or at least me showing them the games and playing them, and so all my collection was originally just Chad's games, but then as I had kids, they are now known as Dad's Games. And I share them with my kids, and I share them with people on the internet. So that's where the name Dad's Games came from. But I also picked that name because I wanted it to signify that the perspective that I have on my channel is from somebody who is what I like to call a first-generation gamer. I was born in 1974, way back when they used to travel by wagons and stuff, probably. But, yeah. Jokes aside, the Atari, I mean, I don't remember, I know some kids in the family had, you know, like the Magnavox Odyssey when it was new, you know, other older cousins and stuff. But to me, it all began with the Atari and the Intellivision. I didn't actually have an Atari, but I did have an Intellivision, and I played the crap out of that, and that's where it all started for me. And then early PC days with, you know, 486 computers and DOS programs, and even before that, taking classes when I was a little kid, learning how to just write little tiny programs in BASIC on like an old Atari computer that didn't even have buttons. It had like a plastic, I don't know what you want to call it. It was just like a plastic membrane, and you would press the buttons, and that's how it would get it. It was really bad stuff. The Apple IIe and the Apple IIc, all those things. So that's where I'm coming from. My perspective is from a first-generation gamer, okay? And Gamezomatik was talking about that on his channel, about how even if you're way into games these days and you are exposed to all the old stuff, you collect the old stuff, you play some of the old stuff, but say you were born in, you know, the late 80s, or you're a 90s kid, or even some of the kids that are now, I mean, think about it, it's crazy. And when you're my age, it's absolutely crazy. Someone who was born in, like, year 2000 is, like, done with high school almost. That's crazy. Yuck. Getting old really sucks. Different story. So, the point being is that looking at old games and exposing yourself to stuff is not the same as actually having lived it. And I totally agree with him on that, because he mentioned something as I was thinking it. I'm thinking this in my head while I'm watching his video, and then he just says what I'm thinking, which was really great, is that imagine yourself as a 12-year-old and seeing the latest games today. You would absolutely have crapped your pants. Your mind would have been blown, you know, all that stuff. So the perspective and the negativity that comes from a lot of the journalists nowadays, part of it, I think, is because most of them are younger than us. They're not first-generation gamers. There were generations of kids playing games before them. They haven't been there since Gen 1 games. They've been playing, I mean, heck, some of them, the PS2 was already gone by the time they started playing games. Imagine that. So, think about it. When I was a kid, I played the Atari and the Intellivision, and this is what it looked like to me, okay? I could wrap my head around that. I could just totally get immersed, if you will, which is an overused term that everybody talks about, immersion. It seems like when you talk about games, you have like a handful of actual words that you can use to describe things, but I guess the word works. So when I was a kid, these things, I would be obsessed about them. I could play Asteroids on the 2600 at my grandpa's house for hours and hours and hours without stopping. I just loved it. I was obsessed. I went to friends' houses that had an Atari, and I was playing games, and their mom cooked dinner for us or something, and she's like, all right, guys, come in and come to dinner. I made up every excuse I could not to go eat because I just wanted to keep playing the games because I didn't have an Atari at home. So yeah, I was probably kind of a weird kid. But imagine having come from there and playing those games and loving those games and having no problem with those games. I didn't think about frame rate. I didn't think about the field of view. I didn't think about anything other than I'm playing a game. This is cool. I'm pressing a button and it's making something happen on the screen. Hell, I remember the first time I walked into a computer store and I picked up a mouse. It's crazy. I mean, when I was that young, I actually went into a computer store and I was amazed at how a mouse works with the thing moving on the screen at the same time while you're moving it. It was just like another crazy thing. I mean, yeah, that might make me simple-minded or whatever you want to call it. I call it culture, man. I call it having a wealth of knowledge that is only gained by having been there and done that. So, when I play games now, I don't make excuses for every single game out there. And yes, there are some games that are bad, and there are some games that are good. But if you watch any of the reviews on my channel, I try not to tell you what to think about something. Okay? I don't tell you, you should not like this, or this is terrible, and listen to me. I give you reasons why maybe I either like it or don't like it, but I always try to find the flip side of it and say, if you're this kind of person, this might be your bag, you might like this, but if you're this person, you're probably going to hate it. Heck, even games that I absolutely love 100%, you know, like Yakuza. Gosh, I talk about that game a lot. But like Yakuza, I love that game, but then when I'm done talking about it, I'm like, but if you don't like reading subtitles, there's no English in it, there's no way you're going to like this game. I can see that. I can understand where someone might not like it. So, the point being, for people like us, we have a completely different perspective on things. The kids that are younger, kids, what am I, an old man sitting on a bench in the park with a cane? Hey, those kids. Anyway, the younger people nowadays that review games, that play games, that post all over the place and stuff, their perspective is from a different place. Their early memories of playing games were maybe a PS2, probably a PS3 or an Xbox 360, and then going forward. So they don't see that even a game today that's technically bad is still freaking awesome to somebody like me or some of these other guys. To them, it's just, yeah, they've always looked like that. And this one has a hair less frame rate than the other one, so it's bad. But for somebody like me or somebody else that has a perspective like that, a couple of dropped frames doesn't mean shit, because look at the thing. It's amazing compared to what we came from, you know? So that's part of why I think there's a lot of negativity out there. Something else, a quicker thing to think about, when you watch these reviews online, whether it's a bigger site, a professional review like IGN or GameSpot or any of those bigger channels, their whole livelihood, and we're talking hundreds of employees and stuff, rely on views. and sponsors and ads that they sell themselves and the ad revenue for their videos, all that stuff. So what makes people watch more videos? If they said that things were cool, there'd probably be less views than if they say that it's a bunch of crap and everything's broken, right? There are some games that get a free pass no matter what. Usually if it says Zelda, Gamezomatik was talking about that too. If it's a Zelda game, it gets a free pass, 10 out of 10 no matter what. And I like Breath of the Wild, I really do, but it's not my favorite Zelda game, and it's not a 10 out of 10. I've played a lot of it, I've unlocked the entire map, and I've done all kinds of stuff, and some of the missions and stuff are cool, but there's a lot of downtime in that game where you're just wandering through fields, and there is not a lot of stuff in the fields. That was my concern on that game before it ever even came out. But am I going to, crap all over the game and say it's terrible? No, it's great. It's an amazing game. It's an amazing achievement of what they were able to do. Is it 10 out of 10? I don't think so. But if you think so, I don't care. Think it. Doesn't bother me. So keep in mind where these reviews are coming from and what these reviews are meant to do. Some of the bigger sites, their reviews are not just there to inform you of what's going on. Their review is there to draw views so they can make money. That's the bottom line. 'Cause Stone Cold said so. No, not Stone Cold. That's the bottom line, though, especially for the bigger sites and for some of the bigger YouTubers that are, just alone, all by themselves. Dean, when he was talking, was making mention of one of my favorite YouTubers, which is the guy, his name is Mac, and his channel is Worth a Buy. Is it worth a buy? He says that every time, and it's hilarious. But you have to remember, Mac has a huge channel at this point. He's at like 120,000 subscribers. That's a big channel. It's not the biggest channel in the world, but I'd like a tenth of that. That'd be great. Okay? So he makes his living off of YouTube too, but the whole thing is he labels, if you look close at his videos, he doesn't label them as gaming or news. He labels his videos as comedy category. When you go into YouTube, you can see what category the videos are listed in. His videos are listed in comedy because that's the thing that he's going after. He has a persona. He has a way of saying things and a way of doing things that is very funny, that's very entertaining, and a lot of times he makes good points. But he sticks to his script pretty closely. He very rarely will deviate from what people expect Mac to say from Worth a Buy. Okay? So you got to keep that in mind too. Every person that reviews something and everybody that says something online or does something, even normal news, regular stuff, everyday stuff, people have agendas, people have ulterior motives. Everyone does. Me too. Everybody. I'm doing this video. My ulterior motive is that I hope a lot of people watch this, and I hope 1 million people subscribe to my channel and I can quit my job that I don't like. Right? Ain't gonna happen. But that's my ultimate ulterior motive. But I also like to discuss things, and I like to tell people what I think and help people think differently about some things maybe occasionally so that they look at things in a different light and maybe see things that were right there that they just didn't see before. Okay? And yes, I make zero money on my channel, and I'm just doing this for fun. But I'm never going to tell you that I wouldn't like to make money on the channel and have 1 million subs and all that stuff, because that would be a lie. I would like that. Who wouldn't, right? So anyway, those are the first couple things I wanted to talk about with the negativity. Some people just can't help it because of the perspective that they are coming from. They haven't seen things very differently over the years, and so slight imperfections are a bigger deal to them because they've only seen things that have been at that quality the whole time. Somebody like me, wow, blows your mind. somebody who's only ever seen PS4 graphics on something, and then there's another game with PS4 graphics, but there's something slightly wrong with it, they'll notice that more so than other people. Not because I'm being forgiving and not because they're being harsh. It's just the perspective we're coming from, right? It's kind of like Obi-Wan when he tells Luke that what he said was true from a certain point of view, right? So keep that in mind. But also keep in mind that there's always, always, always some sort of motive in there too that might make things a little less than 100% objective all the time. I think something else that's to blame for all the negativity is the fact that the hype train, if you will, all the hype is out of control. In this day and age where we have the Twitter and the Facebook and the YouTubes and all these different places that you get all this information from, marketing's a huge thing, and these companies spend millions and millions of dollars hyping stuff. So they want you to believe that this is the best thing since sliced bread. And rarely is anything that great. Usually the stuff that is that great wasn't supposed to be that great. It just wound up being that great. And so it didn't receive the marketing hype that other things get. And it's more of a surprise. I mean, think about it. When was the last time something that was hyped to be the greatest thing ever really, really was? Not very often. Most of the time it's a surprise, and it's a nice surprise, right? Happy accidents. So when you put all of these factors together, not just age, but the perspective that they're coming from, their outside motivations and the reasons why they say what they say, and the fact that everything nowadays gets super hyped and super pushed out there, wanting everyone to pre-order and buy the DLC ahead of time and do this and do that and trust us, it's going to be so great. You can't help but be a little bit disappointed when it comes out, and then the negativity comes out because you were expecting this thing to just come and change your life, and it's a video game. That's all it is. It's just a game for fun, and it can't possibly live up to that. Even if it is a 10 out of 10, it's still a video game that you're going to play, hopefully have fun playing, and then be done with it. That's the reality of the world. More stuff to factor in is, the cool factor. A lot of times, if enough people don't like something, then everybody else has to not like it too, because if you don't agree with the masses, even if you're right, then you're the weirdo. I always say this. This applies to everything in life too. It's a life lesson video today. Even if you're right, if everybody else is wrong, then they will make you feel like you're the wrong one, even if you're the only one who is right. So keep that in mind. It takes a very strong person and a lot of willpower and a lot of putting up with crap from people if you really stick to your guns and believe something when you know that what you're saying is true. Because a lot of times the masses can be fooled into believing what is wrong simply because so many people are saying it. I think it snowballs, the negativity on YouTube and in gaming in general. It snowballs because you don't want to be the guy that everyone's making fun of because you disagreed with the masses, do you? No, you don't want to be that guy. Heaven forbid you might be right. I can play through stuff that's good or bad. I really believe that you can have fun with pretty much any game. The only games out there that are bad games, quote, bad games that no one should buy, that no one would like, is something that just won't work. If it's broken to the point where it's unplayable, you have a game that maybe has a glitch where when you save it, it wipes out all your data, or maybe you have a game that has such bad controls that you can't accurately play it. We're talking about technical issues here, not just missing a frame or two. Like, oh man, I'm supposed to get 60 frames a second, but I only got 58. That is not going to change anything. You can still have fun with that. But if it's supposed to be a normal game and it stops, I mean, we hit 0 frames per second and it locks up on you, that's a problem. That might be a reason to negatively review that game. I know I do this. This is another point. I know I do this, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too. Let's all kind of agree that games are not the cheapest thing in the world to buy. It's not the cheapest hobby to have. The hardware costs a lot of money, and all the software costs a lot of money. And nowadays, more games come out than it seems like have ever come out before. We get so many things to buy every single week that you could just absolutely go bankrupt over and over again if you wanted to try to keep up with everything and buy everything that comes out. I do this, and I'm sure a lot of people out there do it as well. You have to justify in your mind, why are you spending that much money on stuff? If you don't care and you're made of money and you're a millionaire, then this doesn't affect you. But if you're like most people out there where you probably shouldn't buy every single thing that comes out, you know, because you got to pay for your rent or your house or whatever, that's a real thing. So when you buy something, you want to feel like you made the right decision. You don't want to have buyer's remorse. You want to feel like you wisely spent your money. Okay, that you didn't waste it. So that comes out in the negativity as well. Because if you did buy a game and you're dissatisfied with it, especially when you chose that game over other games you could have chosen because you can't possibly buy them all, you're going to get really mad because you're going to feel extra pissed off that you wasted your money on something and it didn't live up to what you wanted it to be. And then on the flip side of that, if you buy a game and you like it, and there are other games out there that are kind of like it, you absolutely have to go and shit all over the other games and the other consoles and stuff. That's what the console wars are all about. Somebody puts out a few $100s for a console and they can't buy the other one. It makes them feel good inside if they say the other one's a pile of shit to begin with, because then they go, I didn't need to buy that anyway, right? I didn't have an Xbox One until Christmas time, and I still kind of believe some of the stuff that I used to believe about Xbox. I'm not a big fan of Microsoft because of other issues that have happened in the past with 360s and stuff like that I had. So I chose not to get an Xbox One when it first came out, and I found myself occasionally hating on the Xbox One and being negative about it because I wanted to make sure that I didn't want one, if that makes sense. When you can't buy everything, you make sure that you try to convince yourself that the thing that you probably can't afford to buy right now is something you wouldn't want anyway because it's junk. And that makes you feel better because you're not sitting there thinking, geez, I wish I could buy that. You follow me? Does that make sense? So the same thing happens with video games and with consoles and stuff. For those people out there who can't possibly buy everything, they want to love the one that they chose, but they almost have to hate the one that they couldn't buy so that they feel okay about not being able to go get it. That's what I think. So that's probably a lot of stuff to digest. And that's just one man's thoughts. That's just me. And before I go, I wanted to do one other thing here as far as negativity goes. Let's take a look at a few games, okay? So let's pretend for a minute that these games came out today instead of when they came out. Do you think the reviews would be the same? So, I'm going to go in my Wayback Machine, and we're going to pull out a few games from some systems here, and I'm going to see what you guys think. Let's open our minds for a second and see if these games of the past, if they were coming out now, would they be the legendary games that we all know and love? I've got this one from the Atari 2600, Pitfall. Well, look at that. That's interesting. You're a guy running through the jungle, and it just... What do you mean? You can't... It's not open world? You can't go any which way you want? You can only go left and right? And there's like only 5 or 6 different screens. Some of them don't have anything, and some of them have the water that opens up, and then every now and then they put some alligators in there. I mean, come on, developers. Couldn't you, like, try to make more than 4 or 5 different screens we gotta walk through? What a piece of junk! Here's another one. Adventure? Adventure for the 2600? There's not even a map! What do you mean, adventure? All the rooms look the same. You want me to believe... You want me to believe that I'm a little block on the screen just walking around, that I'm supposed to get immersed in that game? Come on, give me a break. Space Invaders? What the heck? Who would play that? It's only the same screen over and over and over again. The same bad guys. The same stupid gun that sounds like a fart when you get hit. I can't play this crap. You should not buy this. This is not worth anything because it's the same screen over and over again. Super Mario Brothers. More like stupid Mario Brothers. Every castle's the same. It looks the same. The textures are the same. You only have like 5 or 6 different bad guys in this thing. Come on, give me a break. Do your work. Do your work. Tecmo Bowl? Are you kidding me? Have you seen the crowd in this game? There's no good crowd. And what about the AI? This has got terrible AI. That one team has a guy on it that goes faster than all the other guys, and he can just run right around. Unfair. Star Fox? No, I don't think so. Super FX chip. What, were you having only 3 frames a second before you put the Super FX chip in? Because now it's like 15 frames a second. GoldenEye 007? No way. Not going to play that crap. Have you seen the muddy textures? It looks like someone smeared Vaseline all over my screen. Zelda Ocarina of Time? More like waste of my time. They don't even have any voice work in here. You gotta read everything. This game Yooka-Laylee just came out. I actually watched some reviews on IGN. They complained that the camera was bad and that there wasn't enough variation in the missions, that there were some boring quests to do. So, Banjo-Kazooie? You gotta collect. It's a collect-a-thon. You gotta collect not just feathers, but jigsaw pieces, little guys. You go back to the same things again. Sometimes you can't even unlock stuff. Then you gotta go and then come back. Have you seen the textures? Have you seen the blocky graphics in this thing? Oh my gosh, terrible. Who would like playing that? How about Metal Gear Solid on PlayStation? Look at the back of that. Look at those graphics. They're terrible. All pixelated and yuck. I mean, the graphics are terrible. The frame rate's terrible. The story goes on and on and on. I mean, it's so long they had to put it on 2 discs. I mean, come on. Can't you fit it on 1 disc for me? I gotta actually get up, change discs. What, are you kidding me? Here's one on Xbox. They actually claim it's Game of the Year. Game of the Year? Halo Combat Evolved? This game's got some muddy textures too. Not to mention, crawling through it seems like the same thing over and over again. You're going through building after building after building. How many different bad guys they got in here? Like 5? I'm shooting the little grunts, I'm shooting the big guys. Come on. And then multiplayer? You can only play this locally. They don't even have it online. And you can't play like with 64 different people. You can only play 4 at a time on one TV. Who could possibly have fun with that? And don't even get me started about this next one. I think I'm getting triggered. Grand Theft Auto 3? Oh man, look at this box. Objectifying women. Racist. Showing people doing bad things, being criminals with drugs. Oh man, I don't know. What have games come to these days? This thing's open world. You can just run around and kill whoever you want. There's hardly even a story. You could just drive around and not even finish the story. It's like giant open world filled with a bunch of crap to do. Come on. Okay, I think I've overstayed my welcome. I think you get the point on what I'm saying. It's all in your perspective. It's all in what you like and how you see things. So keep your minds open and keep thinking about that, because everything that you see in the world is not just as it is. It's not face value. There's so much more stuff deeper than what you see. Everyone's got their own motivations. Good motivations, bad motivations. Whew. Life's complex, I guess, huh? On a side note, I hope all those games, I hope that was like a funny joke, because now I got to put all this crap back. So that's pretty much all I have to say in response to Dean's video on Escape to Gaming and Gamezomatik. Thank you guys for putting up those videos. This is a good topic to talk about. I just like having fun playing games. Nitpicking them isn't as much fun as just playing them. And even terrible games that have horrible, stupid glitches and stuff, you can have fun with those if you just try not to expect the game to be the greatest thing ever. Take it for what it is. You know, when the character, glitches into a wall and it's a mess and the game looks like trash, it's kind of funny for a minute. Don't take it so seriously. It is a game after all. Game. Not real life, not life or death, not super serious. It's supposed to be for fun. So just have fun with it. That's what I try to do, and that's what I'm all about here on Dad's Games. So until next time, remember, you never outgrow video games. My name's Chad the Gaming Dad, and this is Dad's Games. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. So long, everybody. Thanks again for watching. If you liked that video, please press like and subscribe. I love hearing from you guys, so leave your comments and any suggestions down below. Remember, there's tons of other gamers out there just like you and me, and they also know that you never outgrow video games. Feel free to share these videos all over social media, Twitter, Facebook, or whatever you use. This channel is for all of us. Let's make sure they know that they are not alone. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.